Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of the Ghetto Rig podcast. For those who don't know, my name is Eddie. Far on left, we got my co-host Jay. Behind these buttons and all the stuff today, controlling is Miguel himself. We got a couple guests in the house today, guys. A couple great guests. I said that so nonchalant, but it's kind of crazy how far we've come. But to my left, we got the great Yuri, right? And we got which is a familiar face, and we got a new face in the house, Nick Facchetti. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did, yes.
So we're gonna get into Nick and his life a little bit today, and jiu-jitsu and wrestling, of course. We want to learn some more about that. You know, we're definitely
MMA.
not too keen on that topic, so have some questions on that. Official sponsors, real quick, before we get into it: UFC Gym Largo, Pinellas Park, which both these guys are a big part of as well, and Vitality Wellness Centers in 4th Street and Park Street. So let's get into it. Nick, you're fighter, Bellator. Give us a little bit of who you are, how old you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Yeah. No, appreciate it. Thank you for guys for having me on.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. And thanks Yuri as well too. Um, yeah. So from New Jersey.
Sorry to interrupt you. Could you point that mic a little bit more? There you go.
There you
There
go.
we go.
Perfect.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Yeah. Originally from New Jersey. Grew up playing sports, wrestling. Wrestled in high school. Wrestled in college at Michigan State University.
He's being modest. Weren't you like the Olympic
I finished I finished fifth place at the Olympic trials in 2008. Wrestling is one of those things. Like it's hard. Like they try to like gauge people. Like you can't do like belts in wrestling. I mean, someone's tried that. I think I don't know. The guy in LA tried it one time.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? Wear a belt?
Yeah, so you can't like, but it's all credentialed. You know what I mean? So they try to judge people on, like what division college you wrestled in, or there's different accomplishments. Like I wrestled Division One at Michigan State. I was an All American one year, but I was never like a national champ. And I was always like a guy like I never quite won the title. Like I didn't win the I didn't win the Olympics or didn't win the national championships, but I was close. One of those guys that was kind
Right.
of
You were competing
yeah.
at the top with those guys.
Like so I wrestled at Michigan State University, and then I tried out for the U.S. national team. I'm sorry, the Olympic team, and I was on the U.S. national team. I won't get into the specifics of that, but I lived at the Olympic Training Center for a couple of years. I competed against and beat, Olympic medalists and world medalists and things like that. But wrestling is one of those things, unless you're number one, it's changed now with this whole NIL deal now in college. But unless you're like number one, you're the champion, you don't make the team. And if you don't make the team, you don't have a chance to go to the Olympics, so on and so forth.
Got
But
it.
now with this whole NIL deal thing, you got guys in wrestling. This guy just signed a $5 million deal to go to college. His name was Bo Bassett. Yeah, allegedly $5 million to go to the University of Iowa. So now they're paying athletes a little bit more, So that wasn't.
Because I know that the athletes pay was a friend of mine. This was back in the day when I first came to the United States. He was
Yeah.
working in a restaurant. A friend of mine was Puerto Rican, and his college roommate was a good baseball player.
Yeah.
So back then, they were not allowed to pay him monetary, but they would give him a bunch of stuff like TVs and
Right.
audio systems and things like that, gear and stuff like that. They would just give him free stuff, whether it was like food or whatever it was, like to instead of like actually giving him money, they would give him a bunch of stuff. So you're saying that might have changed now?
It's changed now, yeah. Like these guys they get money now.
Okay.
The college athletes can now. I think it was changed like 2 years ago. They call it NIL, name. The college has to pay the athlete for name and image likeness.
Yeah.
And now athletes used to sign a contract and have to stay with that school for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
But now you can transfer every year if you want to.
Right.
There's nothing holding back.
Now I want to move over to Yuri. You guys already met Yuri, multiple ADCC champion. Now, on the road to probably maybe. Are you thinking Yuri to compete? Maybe
Yes, I think I will. Yeah.
Okay. So now, Yuri, what I want to ask you, is it similar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Because you're more closer to that, right? Because the wrestling looks like it's going towards that money. How's that work in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
I think there's more professional events. I was surprised now when Nikki said they paid $5 million. You said for the guy.
Yeah, this guy allegedly $5 million.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's they can't officially make a statement about it. It's like it's paid by like I don't actually understand the mechanism of it.
It's okay. You can make the official statement.
Yeah, I
on the
guess so.
podcast.
No, yeah, there's only a few universities that have a lot of money. But yeah, like
Okay.
with jiu-jitsu now, I see the money's coming up in jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah, there's a lot of professional events now paying better. There are some tournaments, like professional tournaments and stuff. I think when it comes to IBJJF, it's still pretty much the same. I think the money that the previous world champions made winning IBJJF, for example, it was like through seminars, sponsorships, and stuff like that. I think they started paying something, but it was like ridiculous compared to like the other events. And for what the title is supposed to mean too. Like these guys, like we train our whole life for these. And there's a lot of injuries involved. Nick knows, like a lot of overcoming challenges and sacrificing time with the family, sacrificing like just having fun like a normal person, committing to this thing where, for the most part of the history of those two sports, we weren't really like paid well. We were doing that for passion, for the love of the art, for the love of the sport. So it feels good to see that these events are coming up and people are getting like the money that they work for.
Now, do you think wrestling and jiu-jitsu is going to be put on a map now? UFC got jumped into this. They just did a thing with Helson and Mike Musamichi. And then do you think that's going to put jiu-jitsu and wrestling on a map now more? Because I saw like there's a K1 is doing, I think, wrestling competitions as well in that type of a... Where Tsarukian, actually, Arman Tsarukian, he actually went again. This was a big thing where they were just wrestling in that, what do you call that ring?
Pit.
The pit.
Yeah,
the pit. Do you think this is something like the social media is actually pushing this, or more people are getting involved into this, or do you think they're just kind of carving their own niche?
I mean, I'll answer first. I think it's kind of like going with the age. You know what I mean? Like, there's a couple things. There's a couple of factors. Like, so football in America, for example, football and baseball.
Yeah, huge.
They're already huge. They're already massive. Basketball too. I think this is another market to kind of tap into. And what I like about with jiu-jitsu and wrestling and MMA and combat sports in general, you can really get personal with someone. You can see a lot of things. You can see their face. Football, you can't really see people's faces and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's exposure for the face. I think it's also something that almost everybody can do. There's more availability. Especially jiu-jitsu has grown, just from like my perspective, like exponentially in the last 5 years, 10 years. You know what I mean? Even more so. It's crazy how much it's grown in America. Wrestling's kind of American style wrestling is kind of like peaked, I think, in a certain way. And the systems are laid out a little bit differently because we have the college and things like that. It's a team thing,
and I think once they throw the money behind the sport, because like every kid kind of knows if I become a basketball star, football star, or baseball star, there's like a payday after it. Like not only payday, fame and respect that comes along with it. And I think once they start throwing the money behind these sports, I think that could also be something.
My question would be is, wrestling is one of those sports that is embedded into schools and at a high school, grade school level, and as well in college as all the other sports. I would say like in the sense where like the national championships go and all that stuff, but then from there on it kind of has this huge drop off, right? And then maybe I'm incorrect, but from what it looks like, jiu-jitsu is even like taken over wrestling in the sense of personalized events, athletes getting paid a lot of money at a professional level, doing it at 30 plus years old, right? I mean, you don't see that with wrestlers, right? And it is so bizarre to me because it's been a sport that has been such a big part of American history and the schools and all that stuff, just like basketball and football and all the other sports that have been on the big screen for a long time now. I don't see why doesn't it continue on, you think, after college?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I think you look at it like it's very popular in like certain pockets in America and in the world too. It's like like you go to like, I don't know, somewhere, let's say like, I don't know, Armenia or Iran, you go to a park, they have like a soccer field and they'll have areas where people can like wrestle at. They don't have that in America.
No.
It's not woven into the culture as much. Only in certain pockets in America. I think there's that, and I think the school systems and the universities have kind of like, I don't know, usurped the situation. And the other thing too, wrestling, the way you train it, it's hard. Like, it's very difficult. It's very challenging. it's like not for it's not for the layman. You know what I mean? And I'm not taking anything away from jujitsu at all, like the culture. I think jujitsu offers an opportunity for wrestlers after they're done wrestling.
Yeah, which you're seeing that now.
To move into an art. Wrestling, wouldn't call it an art. I'd call it a sport. Whereas I would say like jujitsu and the other arts, like boxing and kickboxing, I would consider those more arts. Whereas wrestling has more of a sport aspect. I think mostly is focused on.
And why do you think that, like, the art in the sport? Because I think the same, but I don't know if I can explain precisely.
I don't know.
why.
I feel like wrestling brings such an artistic value to jujitsu.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you.
Good
I
dimension.
don't
It's
know.
kind of like this. It's kind of like I don't know if I describe it like the
The
Latin
culture.
language.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. Like the language of Latin is dead, right? It's a dead language. But if you learn Latin, that means you can learn French, Spanish, Italian,
Yeah.
Portuguese pretty easily, right? If you master Latin. And I feel like wrestling kind of has that with the combat sport world. If you can wrestle, you can move into boxing pretty well. You can move into grappling or jiu-jitsu. You can move into judo. I feel like it's kind of like a universal sport because you use all dimensions of the sport.
It's like a connecting art kind of thing, right? Like
Yeah.
from there you can go different. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you went that way because what I want to ask you, both guys been in very, very popular mixed martial arts events, and you participated and you fought, both of you. Now, as far as first Yuri, and then same question for you, Nick.
Sure.
Now, Yuri, you coming in from a background of jiu-jitsu, and MMA is not really jiu-jitsu, right? Like there's jiu-jitsu and then there's the MMA jiu-jitsu, right? And then on top of that, you have to deal with the wrestling and striking. The only person we're missing here is a striker that was a just legit striker that went directly to MMA to get all three perspectives, right?
We need to get Michael.
Yeah, we need to get Michael. Yeah. What was the hardest thing for you when you were going into MMA? And same question for you. What was the hardest thing going? What was that transition from jiu-jitsu to actually going and say, okay, well now, not only I have to worry about my half guard getting punched in the face, but how do I tap? Like, what was the biggest challenge?
So it's
there?
like it's gonna be like a long answer because, just the transition itself, I feel like I would probably be ahead compared to most grapplers because I grew up in a time where jiu-jitsu, like we would take your top of your gi off and you train with slaps, you do all of that stuff, all the self-defense, all these things that became like a lost art in jiu-jitsu. And I did a lot of that. But when I went to my MMA fight, I went and I started against a guy that was like 15-2 or something like that. So I started against a guy that was very experienced on that sport. Going on the gym, sparring most people, like I sparred most guys that were like fighting on like average events and stuff. I would walk through most guys, and I'm just saying that I'm not like bragging or anything. Yeah. I'm just saying how it is, and I think that I felt the most difference competing rather than training because like, back when I fought, I was training at AKA. We spar with the 16-ounce gloves and the headgear, the shin pads, mouthpiece. And, you fight with the mouthpiece too in a real fight, but like the gloves and everything else, and like that place, interferes a lot on the distance. For example, when you're fighting with big gloves in the gym, you stay a little closer to the guy. When I got into the fight on those little gloves, you start getting close. You're like, oh, this is the fire zone, like you're the distance a little bit longer. And like I think comparing to grappling, like we're so used. Maybe wrestlers can rely on that too. I don't know, but we're so used to reaching and trying to hold the person, and it's like in the open. The guy's not trying to engage and hold and tie it up with you. The guy might just like pop you and move away. He's not really willing to engage. So you could get finished and you never have an opportunity to engage the guy, which is very normal in jiu-jitsu, right? Like you can do anti-game and stuff, but even to do an anti-game, you still have to engage. In MMA, you don't really have to engage. And like I felt that as a big challenge, the bigger challenge, like walking a lot. You don't walk that much in wrestling, you walk more. In jiu-jitsu, like for ADCC, I'm probably one of the guys that walk the most standing. I drain guys because I make them move a lot, I do a lot of hand fighting and all of that. But in MMA, it's all about footwork, distance. That is a lot. Distance matter a lot more in MMA than in jiu-jitsu. you can have distance to execute some techniques. It's still a big part of jiu-jitsu, but I think for MMA it's even more crucial. So I think those are the main things that I felt the difference, like.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
That's good. No, I agree with Yuri. For me, my weakness, I was just when I got into MMA, was just a pure wrestler. Kind of, always used to lifting weights, kind of stiff, kind of slow. Learning everything was hard. Learning the box was impossible for me. I had to really stop all my routines for lifting and everything. I had to change a lot of things, change my diet. And then, training with guys, like some of the guys that I jumped in with right away were like Robert Drysdale or like Vinny Magalhaes.
Oh, yeah.
And they just killed me. I had no idea how good they were because I didn't
you trained with Robert, too. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Robert is a G.
They just killed me. And I never, they would just beat me up. And, I didn't really, learn jiu-jitsu properly the way I probably should have. I went right from just in MMA situations,
Mm-hmm.
So some things I just didn't know. But you never really know until you get in there. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. But no, I agree with Yuri. I feel like learning just pure boxing helped me get better at wrestling because I learned footwork a little bit more. Like you said, distance and timing and moving. And Yuri's one of those guys too. He's got amazing wrestling for jiu-jitsu. So I think he was kind of ahead of the curve when it came to that for his MMA fights. And I don't know your deal, but they put you on the guy who was 15-2.
Yeah,
and you're 0-0.
Yeah, man.
How's that even? How the hell is it even?
They
legal?
probably
That's
told
illegal.
I think
you can't do that in America.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I didn't know
that's
that.
probably you give him some.
I never had an amateur fight. The most I've done was combo jiu-jitsu slaps.
Yeah, slap jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of my fault too, to be fair, because when I signed with them, I heard that from other guys. They're those guys are they're all about, oh yeah, we're gonna build you up, we're gonna help. They said that to me, and I was coming off of ACL, so basically how I went to MMA was I went on an ACL surgery. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It was crazy. I had an ACL, MCL, and meniscus very bad injury at ADCC 2019. People were counting me out of everything. I was fuck jiu-jitsu. Sorry, my language, guys. I was screw jiu-jitsu. I want to go to MMA. I was really annoyed with how things happen at the time. I'm already over it. I love jiu-jitsu. But, at the time I was I'm going to do something else. And I was remember I was still laying in bed post ACL. I was probably still groggy from medicine, and I was messaging all these events and talking. No manager, no nothing. I was just doing that by myself. And in a way, I think they kind of took advantage of that, because they're this guy's coming with no manager. So I feel like I could have gotten a better pay, knowing other athletes from jiu-jitsu that went there and they got, a good pay. I don't think it was a bad pay for a beginner, but for my accolades and for what I've seen other people go there, and all of that because I didn't have management, And then, when I was in the talk on the phone, this guy at the time that was supposed to help me out, but also had no clue what he was doing, they were telling us, oh yeah, you can sign, we're gonna help build you up, we're not gonna throw you to the wall. That's exactly what they did. You know what I mean? As soon as I was pushing them, I want to fight. Even 8 months after ACL, I wanted to fight. And they gave me the only guy, besides the Reader, because he was on my division at the time. I actually was, at the time, wanted to fight him because now his striking got better and stuff. But at the time, he was purely grappling. I was I want that guy, no striking, just grappling. Or a guy that was a striker. But they gave me the only guy that had decent striking and ground, and this guy was he fought nothing near Lyoto Machida stop level, but fighting with the distance, that Kempo style, that karate, just jumping back, and
blitz fighting,
walking away, he punched and he's out of there. So it was really hard to find the distance to shoot him. So the worst first match, they could give him a very experienced guy, a guy that had grappling, so he could use his grappling defend, and had good experience standing. So it was a challenge, but also I look at it look, I've seen a lot of tough fighters or tough martial artists. They went to MMA, and they were they were fine. They were getting like an opponent that was 0-0 or 2-0, whatever, and they were good. They were winning, and then once they got a challenge, they just collapsed and then they left. So in a way, I'm glad that I was through to the Sharks right away, because like, it can get worse from that. You know what I mean? Like from there, I can get more experience, and now that I'm aware, like when I come back, I actually want to build my record. I do want to come back to MMA. My shoulder's finally getting better, so I will start looking into that. I have a guy that's gonna help me out, and that's definitely not gonna happen again. If I go back, I wanna like build my record smartly. Like I already proved that I can go out there. I have the balls to fight anybody, but I also have to be smart and watch out for my career. And then when I do get back to fight those guys, I'll be ready. I'll be having like a couple fights already.
So how was your transition to MMA? How did that happen?
I just so I had two guys that I went to college with. I was living at the Olympic Training Center, and then I went to school with Rashad Evans, and with he's UFC champion, and then Gray Maynard, and another guy.
Mm-hmm.
He fought for the UFC title twice. I just saw Rashad win the show, and then Gray was getting on the show, and I was like in the middle of like the Olympiad. I was like 2006, and I just would go and train with him at Jackson's, or I would go, I went to Vegas and trained with Gray a couple times, and I just figured out that's what I wanted to do. So I made the decision to go to Vegas, and when they were training there, but then he opened up a new gym, and I was like the first wrestler.
Randy Couture?
Randy Couture, yeah.
That's what I
It was
figured it was.
Extreme Couture, right?
Extreme Couture, yeah.
Because Randy came from a wrestling background, so he probably was like a perfect match, kind of like if anyone, he could have guided you.
Yeah, he was good, man. He's a great guy.
How old were you at that time?
28.
28, okay.
20, turning 29, yeah.
So what would you say right now, like, we see a lot of these young fighters that are coming up. I mean, as a matter of fact, like, I don't know, guys, if you were able to watch Topuria and Oliveira fight, and how Topuria said, well, there's a new generation of fighters coming around, and Eddie was kind of mad. It's like, why does he have to knock out every single fighter that we like and love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
it's just how the generation works, though.
How do you see this game has changed? You know what I mean? Like, what the guys are doing maybe a little bit different than from before?
Not so much specialist. I mean, it's more of getting a well-rounded MMA fighter.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of opinions on it. It's just some observations, and maybe Yuri will probably say the same. Like, I would look at a guy that is a grappling-based guy, but like I'll use Habib, for example. He and another guy too. What's the Georgian guy that won the 135?
Merab.
I'm sorry, dude. So he like I look at those guys like Habib. He won. We had 3 title defenses.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard way to go to be like a pure grappler. It's just harder training. It's a hard style. It's a hard fight.
Especially, he looked like, I mean, let's be honest. When the first few fights in UFC, he looked like crap. The way he was punching, the way he was jumping, like he had zero, like, understanding what striking is.
Habib, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's different coming from the combat sambo, but he's more like a judo wrestler guy. You know what I mean? But that's even with Randy Couture too. He's another example of a guy that's a pure wrestler. It's a hard path. I feel like guys have a tendency to move more towards the striking, maybe because it's easier on the body, maybe not great on the CNS and the brain, but a little bit maybe of an easier strategy fight wise. Does that make sense?
That would make a lot of sense. I mean, because I think one of the biggest things that plays into MMA now, especially at the highest level, is the athleticism, cardio. I mean, those guys you just talked about, they had cardio for 5 rounds, the whole thing. I mean, especially a guy like Merab. Merab looks like he's fresh in the fifth round.
Yeah,
fifth round, last minute, he looks fresh. I mean, it's insane. And wrestling has an insane pace compared to any of the other martial arts. I mean, except for, of course, maybe MMA, because you've got that in there. But
you can make it that hard.
Exactly.
Or not.
Exactly. But the pace in wrestling is not comparable. Like you said, it's not for the layman, right?
Yes.
I agree with what you say in that sense. Like, it's not like jiu-jitsu, you can approach not so aggressive or be aggressive. Yeah. But there's not that option in wrestling. The pace is very, very high.
Sure.
Muvasa Satyev was very relaxed though when he fought, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't so aggressive.
Well, because his techniques were so strange and foreign, and he had a weird, strange style. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying at all.
Yeah, but in general, you have to be more aggressive.
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah.
The training is just rigorous, you know.
Yeah,
Especially in
yeah.
the American system. I know that like if you do a college season, you know, your training is hard. The competitions are hard. They're almost a sprint. They're like a.
I used to train with the DC team with the kids.
Oh, with his club team.
Yeah,
DC,
it's a hard training and it's not a joke. I train also for 2015 with the what's the name? What's the name of that university in California, in Northern California? They have good wrestling.
A couple of Bakersfield, Cal State Bakersfield.
No, like near San Jose.
There's like Life University. There's San Francisco State.
No.
There's a couple of them right there. I know that there are.
Yeah, I will remember that. But
Can you pull up, Miggy?
I'd say, yeah, they were like top 10 or something. Like they were Division 1 guys. They would come to train with me.
Fresno State. No.
No, it's
State.
bigger than that, I think.
You had Cal Davis, Cal State Bakersfield.
In
Berkeley?
NorCal. Not Berkeley, the other one. No, there's Berkeley and there's another
I'm just looking at a
Stanford.
Stanford, yeah.
Stanford. I trained with the Stanford guys. So at the time it was Ian Bork, who was one of the coaches.
Sure. Yeah.
He helped me a lot in 2015, and then he would bring these D1 kids to wrestle with me.
Nice.
But I think they were a little surprised. So they would expect like a jiu-jitsu guy that just does guard, and I was really sharp at the time, in good shape. But but I could tell the wrestling. Well, I train a lot of judo too with national team in Brazil and stuff. That's also very rough.
Yeah.
That's very
Judo's
rough. Very rough on your fingers, like your joints. Like it's maybe more impact because you have more power with the gi to throw.
In judo, that's what judo relies on, is just throws.
Yeah,
It's just
and then again, like kind of like how Eddie said, jiu-jitsu, it can be relaxed and stuff, but it can also be aggressive. And I think the more you lead towards competition, the more it becomes aggressive. And nowadays,
as well, also I think it's more aggressive than the
and then like nowadays, which is like kind of like connected to my answer for Jay's question about why did they level up. But like I think like just like what I was gonna say for MMA in jiu-jitsu too, like nowadays, for example, with ADCC and stuff, there's a big importance on the stand-up game. So guys are no longer just average takedown players. They're studying, they train with D1 guys, they have more access to information, they're leveling up every aspect of grappling. And I think that's the thing with MMA too. It's like, I think not everybody is like kind of following like Ilya, Islam Makhachev. Those guys are like above the curve. But I think like the next level, the next generation, before it was like Vale Tudo, right? One art against another art. Then you had guys that did boxing and wrestling, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. It was still like not blended, right? And then you started like the Nogueira generation, Krokop, Fedor, Nogueira. They started like the beginning of MMA, and then it started like, and I think nowadays it's getting to the point where people are actually, you would always say you can never be high level in every aspect. I think people now are becoming high level in every part of it, you know? If you look at like Islam, people count him out on striking. His striking is high level, man.
Yes.
His striking is very high level. His wrestling is high level, and I'll tell you, his grappling is definitely high level because I train with him. You know, and I heard the same about Ilya. I know he's a boxer. You see how he fought with Charles. He was like a boxer fighting like high level, maybe like not Mayweather level and stuff, but like for MMA boxing, high level boxing. You know,
excellent
so
technique, man.
I mean, Islam wouldn't have knocked out Volk if he didn't have good striking. You know, at the end of the day, he would have caught
Max Holloway. I mean, the three guys he's just gone against recently are some of the best boxers we've seen in the UFC, and he took them all out.
What do you think about him versus Paddy Pimblett?
Oh, that's bullshit.
What do you think, Nick?
I think that's not gonna happen.
Man, I think Paddy's like a huge guy.
He is big. That is true.
He's bigger than Islam.
He also proved like he was battle tested after the fight with the what's his name,
Chandler.
Yeah, he surprised a lot of people. I was surprised on that fight.
But I think Chandler's been pushed. Yeah. Chandler's been pushed because of his mouthpiece that he has on him. People kind of like him, and that's why they keep pushing him. Otherwise, if Chandler didn't talk, right? He didn't create any controversy. He'd have been cut long time ago.
He also
Dana
came
White has
from.
talked about that though.
Bellator.
He
Dana,
also came from Bellator though. He was a champion.
yes,
right?
he was.
He was legit. He
Probably
was.
had a contract with the UFC, so many fights, so they wanted, something.
I
like
see what
that,
you mean.
you know what I'm
Dana
saying?
White said he's like
But I agree.
basically like I think he said every time we've seen Chandler go in the octagon, win or loss, it's been an entertaining fight, and so as long as he wants to fight, he'll fight for the UFC. It's what he said. So
Yeah, but like he's saying that, but if you lose like 2 more times, he's gonna get cut.
Yeah.
Just
I don't
everybody.
know, Tony Ferguson. They keep letting him fight.
He's out though. He's out of the UFC.
Yeah, they dropped him off the
He
roster
fired,
officially. Well-
Unfortunately.
Well, I think with the Paddy Pimblett, because Ilya came out and officially said that he's not gonna fight Arman Tsarukyan. He said even if UFC puts me against him, I'm gonna refuse that fight, because he said he needs to like. His thing was because when I came back to my belt, I had to prove myself again to get the belt. So since he called off a fight with,
He needs to prove himself.
he needs to prove himself. That was his thing, and he said that he wants Paddy Pimblett, right? So, but Paddy, man, I just can't stand that fucking guy. Like he's just like a copycat of McGregor.
Yeah.
To me, that's what it is. Like, get your own damn personality. You know what I'm saying? Like, figure out your own damn personality. Like, he's just copying McGregor. That's how it feels anyway. But it could just be him. You know, he just could be him. But
Play
Yeah,
the
he's
heel.
weird.
It's the whole heel, the whole Chael Sonnen and McGregor. You play the bad guy.
Yeah.
The anti-hero kind of thing.
now, for you, when you did transition, and then how did it happen that you went to Bellator? How did that all come around?
Yeah. No, I had. So I had a manager. And no, this was
It started right. You started the right way.
Yeah, no, I had a manager. They didn't do anything but other than just get me the fights. You know what I mean? So I had a couple small fights. Like in South Dakota or one in Vegas. I had a couple amateur fights.
Man, I've
too.
been to South Dakota. Ain't shit out there in South Dakota. There's nothing there, bro. It's all fields and. Bro, sorry, I don't want to bring.
No,
Is
it's
that
fine.
near Kansas? Or my my
Yeah.
geography with the
It's
estimate.
northwest of Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Midwest.
It's like west of like Minnesota.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I have a funny
Bring
story
him a
about
map
South
for
Dakota.
you.
Yeah. So I was out there for work.
Brother. There you go. Okay.
So I was
Thank
out
you.
there for work.
Oh, yeah. It's way out there, huh? It's way in
That's,
the
Yeah.
that's Kansas. Yeah, North Dakota's a little bit. Is it north?
Up.
Yeah, northwest.
Mhm.
Or west. Wow, where is it? Wait.
Yeah.
Oh no, it is. It's right by
Yeah.
Kansas. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
West.
see, I wasn't
Yeah.
so bad.
Yeah, it's north.
So I have a
Yeah,
funny
my
story
bad.
about South Dakota. I was out there for work, and I'm driving in a car because everything's so far apart from each other. And I was drinking it because you drive and you have a drink next to you, right? And I was like, man, I gotta go to the bathroom. And then I quickly look at the map. I was like, oh, there's a city coming up. You know what I mean? It's probably gonna have a gas station. I'm driving the next 20 minutes. I'm driving. It's been 30 minutes. Where the hell is the damn city? And I just remembered that I passed by on a highway. There were 2 stop signs. One house here, and one house here. That was apparently the whole entire city. You know what I mean?
Oh my
That
god.
was the city that they had.
Wait, but
pinpoint-
you're saying what? You drive, you drink when you drive. What kind of drink are you
Oh
talking
no, I
about?
was just drinking water.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I was drinking water.
Okay.
And as I drive by, I was like, oh yes, there's a city. And as I drive
That's
by,
the whole
like,
city.
3 houses. Yeah. It's the whole city. And nothing in South Dakota, man. And I was there during April, and I'm talking about cold as hell. Still April, like really, really cold.
I can't imagine. Yeah, Minnesota was one of the coldest places I've been in my life in the winter, and that's right next to that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the Midwest is cold.
Yeah,
man.
sorry.
No, it's good.
How,
yeah.
how did it
Yeah,
happen?
no, like I fought this one guy. He had like 80 fights, but he was like, it was like just the tomato can type situation, I went in there. I fought in a place called the Corn Palace. It was a sold out arena, but it was like in the middle of nowhere. I can't remember the name of the city.
Well,
Mitchell, South Dakota, maybe.
Did he
Yeah.
have more fans at that time, or you had more fans, or was it just like random people?
No, I think he was like a local guy, but the management set it up for me to
Gotcha.
build me, to kind of build the situation. Yeah, and then I got to like 5-0, and then I signed up for like the inaugural like Bellator light heavyweight tournament, and it was terrible. I went out for that one, and this is where my lack of jiu-jitsu like stood out because it was a guy that I was like a 10-1 favorite or something like that. We get out there, he hits me, bell rings, he hits me with a couple of jabs, pretty good. I take him down pretty easily. like side control. His feet are against the fence. He pushes off of the fence, and then he like locks up like around my neck. It was like, and I stand up with it, and he had like an inverted triangle on me. So instead of me like properly like peeling apart the legs, sitting down, I squeeze a little bit.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I squeeze it. I'm squeezing, and I basically choked myself out.
Whoa.
So that was my first fight in Bellator. So that was pretty embarrassing.
That was your only loss, though, right?
Yeah. Well, I lost that one, and then I guess unofficially or whatever, however they judge it, I lost the fight to get on the season 17 Ultimate Fighter house. I lost that fight too.
Okay.
Against Zach Cummings, and I got knocked out in that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I got a hypothetical question for both of you.
Yeah.
I don't need you to tell me the actual age. If you could like picture an age you would want to be at, and then you have 2 years to train, who would you want to fight if you were going into the cage? You had
What
2
do you
years
mean,
to train
age?
at the specific age that you think. Like, pick an age, whether it's right now or a couple of years back or 2 years from now or whatever age you pick, it is what it is. But then you have 2 years to train. Who would you go against? Who would you want to go
I want to
against?
answer first. I think I want to go against that one gorilla they've been talking about.
Yeah, you going to gorilla on your own.
the gorilla versus 100 guys? Yeah.
Gorilla versus 100 guys.
Good luck with that, brother.
Yeah.
I'm not joining that fight, homie.
We'll watch from the sidelines, nigga. You got this, bro. I believe in you.
I would try and shoot the gorilla, but I might hit you, bro. So.
What do you think? 2 years to train. Who
Man,
would you
it's hard to say because, for example, I would like to see how I feel right now training with all the experience that I have once my shoulder's healthy. Like I would tell you when I was 32 because that's the last time that I was training hard before I went to Singapore, and then when I got back from Singapore, I got hurt in my shoulder. So I don't know right now because right now I'm even more experienced when I was 32, and I don't know. I think like science and everything is like evolving a lot. Like you see athletes pushing further and further on age. You have people like Yoel Romero is almost 50 and he's fighting. So I trained with Nick the other day. You're 42, Nick, or what? 45, and yeah, you would be surprised if you went to train with him. You would like not think he's 45. So yes, I think people are doing a lot better. Like where before when you were like 32, you'd be probably retired. 35, now people are like lasting longer in their career. They have more stuff, more technology, nutrition, everything to last longer and stuff. And I think experience play a big role into it as well. So I don't know, maybe like I would say 32, and then the opponent you said.
Mm-hmm.
What MMA opponent?
Yeah, MMA.
Man, it's hard for me to say because I feel like I need to build my MMA record to tell you this, from like to have the ground to say that. I could say a lot of names, spar a lot of people. I sparred like good names, but it's sparring. I need to prove myself in MMA to have such an opinion.
Fair enough.
But I think Nick can give you that experience. That's it.
Pass down the mantle on this.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, man. Back in the day, I kind of got a later start to MMA too. You said how old were you for your first MMA fight?
30. I was 30.
30.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like 29. I think if I was between like 25 and 30 was probably like my peak time. But I didn't do a lot of things right. I didn't eat good food. I didn't do any of that stuff. I just trained. But I think I would have liked to have tested whoever was at the top. I was always just a fan. Even when I was like training and competing, like I'd run into like Vanderlei Silva and, work and spar with him, like, oh wow, it's, Vanderlei Silva. But, I would have liked to fight Forrest Griffin.
Griffin?
Yeah, I think I would have liked to fight him, man.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Forrest, because I trained with him a lot. And he beat the piss out of me a lot, too. When we trained together. He really took advantage of me. But I learned a lot from him, yeah. Guys, that guy was an animal. He trained all the time, all day long, right when I got to Vegas. And it was one of those things. I didn't learn anything from him. Like, he didn't sit there. We weren't friends or anything like that. But he definitely took advantage of me when as a partner when I was there. But I would like to test myself against him, I'd say.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd say Forrest Griffin.
I would go for Nick if they fight. I would go, man.
For me?
Yeah, of course.
After
Forrest
Nick
Griffin
wins,
got no chance.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we're gonna wrap it up for today, boys. We're definitely gonna have you guys on again. That's gonna do
Yeah,
your
appreciate
thing.
you.
So,
Thank you for having me.
know you guys want to get something set up where we can maybe do something a little more often. Have you guys come in, but yeah, I know it's getting a little late, so we're gonna end it for today, guys. We'll definitely do this again, and thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate that. It's been a great episode. We definitely need more time, so
Yeah.
next time we can figure that out and have you guys on for a little longer. But yeah, for tonight, guys, that'll be it. And so yeah, appreciate you guys joining the GhettoRig podcast. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Appreciate you.